Hey guys, so I've mentioned this before. Actually, I think I've mentioned this a lot in different places and at different times, but I actually saw the first Harry Potter movie before I read the first Harry Potter book. And it's kind of funny that way because I would never do that now. Like, I try really hard to always read books before I watch movies. But when the first Harry Potter movie came out, I was about 8 years old and I had no interest in reading the books. Like, people had tried to get me to read them. I thought they looked boring and I didn't want to read them. And I didn't really choose so much to go to the first movie either. I just wound up going because other people wanted to go and whatnot, and then fell in love with it. I kind of feel like that says something about how important the Harry Potter movies can be and how they can lead to people becoming fans who wouldn't otherwise, because there are people who just watch the movies and say they're Harry Potter fans but only watch the movies. But there are also people who saw the movies and then read the books and became huge fans like I did, which I think has always given me a sort of very positive view of the movies in comparison to everyone else, and also the fact that not just that I know they can do that, but having had my first Harry Potter experience be through the movies means that they're special to me in a way that they may not be to people who read the books first. And another sort of consequence of that, I think, is the fact that with the first Harry Potter movie, I have a really hard time finding flaws in it, excluding the fact that they didn't include Peeves. I'm still angry about that, which I've also talked about before, but other than that, when it comes to the first movie, the other movies, the movies from second on, I can come up with reasons that I things that get me a little frustrated or things I wish I had done differently and whatnot, but I can't do that with the first one. I just can't, because in my mind it's this perfect entity because it's what originally made me a Harry Potter fan, so I have a really hard time finding anything wrong with it. That movie formed the basis of everything that I view the Harry Potter world as and the universe as. As the characters get older, when I read the later books, I have my own vision of the characters in my head because they came out before the movies, obviously, and so the characters were aging in my head. But when I read the first book, I imagine Dan, Rupert, and Emma as they were at that age in that movie. My Harry, Ron, Hermione in the early books and all of my characters in my head look exactly like the movie versions. And it's funny because it's such a weird thing because, like I said, as I read the later books, I have my own version of all the characters that is a bit different from the movie ones, but for some reason when I read the first book, all I can imagine are the movie versions of the characters. So over time I was able to create my own Harry Potter characters for the later books, if not the first or really even the second. But with the universe, I have such an image of Hogwarts in my head as the Hogwarts in the first movie. The Hogwarts in my head has always been the Hogwarts in Sorcerer's Stone, and I can't remove that from my mind. I think I expanded on it in my mind because there are parts of Hogwarts that you don't really see in the movies, and I have versions of them in my head, and there are other parts of the Wizarding World, and obviously any new set that comes in past the first one, I had an image in my head first. So the Ministry of Magic, I have a version of the Ministry of Magic in my head that isn't the Ministry of Magic in the movies because I read that in the books first. But Hogwarts and Privet Drive even and Diagon Alley, those sorts of places in the Wizarding World are pretty much exactly the same in my head as they are in the movies because the movie left such a lasting impression and I got that first, and so I have trouble imagining those in other ways, even though there are some parts of Hogwarts the kitchens obviously weren't in the movies, so I have a version of that in my head, and then things here or there where you don't really see them in the movies or you only see them until the later movies. I'm having trouble recalling anything. I have a version of the Shrieking Shack in my head that's different from the movies. I have a version of the Room of Requirement that's very different from what's in the movies, and things like that. But the Great Hall, the Gryffindor Common Room, and that sort of thing, the dormitories and all of that are exactly the same in my head as they are in the movies because I can't get or like I've never been able to get the image of them out of my head because I saw them in the movies first. And it's interesting because I know so many Harry Potter fans don't have that experience. Like they read the book first. I feel like most of the really huge Harry Potter fans I know read the books first. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just assuming, I don't know, but I feel like that's true. And I feel like they all have like their own versions of Hogwarts in their head, and it's interesting because my version is like indistinguishable from the early movie version, even though that also changed a bit over the course of the movies. And like it's almost impossible for me to like not view Hogwarts in that way, and I feel like that is different than a lot of other people's experiences. So you guys should let me know in the comments how you view Hogwarts in your head, or like even other aspects of the Harry Potter universe, like how closely it aligns with the movies and how much of it is like your own sort of interpretation, because I'd be really interested in hearing that. I think it's really interesting how people can read the same book and yet interpret things like completely differently. Like this is completely a side tangent, but I find it interesting when people call like book characters attractive or whatever, because I like have like all I can think about is the fact that you're pretty much creating them in your head. Like there is a certain amount of interpretation actually in the book, but like I feel like everyone's exact picture of that character is different, and so I find it interesting when people talk about them being attractive, because you could make them look more or less attractive in your own head. But anyway, that's a side tangent. I could probably talk about that too, because I think about that sometimes. But anyway, that is separate from this video, so I will see you guys later. Bye.